Difficult Realities is an Elite City Media podcast. If you're interested in more information, make sure you follow us on Twitter at DifficultPod. Subscribe to our official YouTube channel, and keep your eyes open wherever you listen to podcasts for more episodes. No matter what you're listening on, make sure you turn on notifications so you always know when a new episode is posted. And most importantly, remember that while this is an opinion-based podcast, it is also backed up by evidence and facts. Or in other words, this podcast is Difficult Realities. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Surprise! It is Difficult Realities, and today we're coming at you with a Minipod. Now, what is a Minipod, you might ask? Well, we'll get into that in just a second, but I want to reassure you that joining me alongside, as always, to my left is the wonderful Spittin'.
Hello. Hello.
And to my right is the massive Yeti.
How you doing, folks?
So, what is a Minipod? Well, the truth of the matter is, these issues that we talk about, they get complex, and sometimes you can't get all your information into one segment, or you can't get everything into one podcast, or sometimes things happen after the fact, and more information becomes available. So we are creating a Minipod segment where we'll come at you with a half of an episode, 30 to 45 minutes, give or take, where we add information on to some previously discussed topics. Now, you might be confused when you see this, and this is called 3A. You're going to go, wait a minute, where's 1 and 2? I didn't see 1 or 2. Don't worry, they don't exist yet. The reason this is named 3A, and the way that these Minipods will be named in the future, will be based on what podcast they're being associated with. So, for example, today we're going to talk partially about the ending of the housing moratorium by the Supreme Court. They made that decision very late last night. So we talked about the housing moratorium in length on episode 3. So this is an addendum to podcast 3, and it's the first mini podcast for podcast 3, so it is 3A. If we get more information on the housing moratorium a month from now, and we do another one, that would be 3B. Or if we get more information on the Apple Spy phone, because that was also part of episode 3, then that would be 3B. So basically, what we're doing here is these pods are continuations of other pods. The number will be the episode that we're continuing from, and the letter is the first mini pod or the second or third consecutively based on the information that we're providing. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. If it doesn't, let us know. I'll change it. I'm not anchored to this concept, but today's mini pod has 2 topics. The first topic, as we discussed, and what we're going to get into first, is the ending of the housing moratorium, because I think it's very important that we get right on that. The Supreme Court made a decision, like I said, late last night on that. And we're also going to talk a little bit about Twitter gatekeeping and how Twitter is not real life. And I believe personally, and I know these guys have opinions on this too, that sometimes people who are politically turned on, so to speak, believe that just getting on Twitter and tweeting or blocking people or gatekeeping is enough, and that's what politics is. And that doesn't just count for average everyday people. That's people like the Squad as well, who like to regularly tweet out all these good notion things about, hey, what's healthcare, what's housing, and then they don't actually do anything about it. So we're going to talk a little bit about Twitter as well. But I want to start with the moratorium, and I want to give a shout out to Yeti, because he's the one who first brought this to my attention. He sent out, he sent us one of the first tweets that talked about it. And the Supreme Court has ended the housing moratorium. Now, I was shocked 2 episodes ago to find out that it only was extended for 60 days in the first place. If you want to hear that reaction, it's about the 35-minute mark of episode 3, and it's worth listening to. But we'll start with Yeti, because he was the one who pointed this out to me. Yeti, what was your first reaction when you saw that the Supreme Court ended the housing moratorium last night?
Well, I wasn't so much surprised that they ended it. It's just they did it such at late at night and tried to slip it in again, which they seem to do a lot of stuff when they release stuff. So I just happened to be looking through it last night when it came up.
We know
and then also, like, Airbnb is announcing it will temporarily house 20,000 refugees from Afghanistan for free. But it's like, how come they don't ever do any of that stuff for the millions of homeless people around the country now? Like,
No shit.
And you know what I find one of the most interesting things, if you take a look at the news of yesterday with the Kabul bombing, which we're not going to get too into today, and ISIS-K and all of this other warmongering based stuff, they just snuck that right in there at the end of the day. And I look at Twitter today and I look at the news today, and this isn't even a top trend. It's almost like they literally just snuck it under the radar. Like
is ISIS-K trending?
They did it. Well, maybe they did it when everybody fell asleep. They did it when everybody was done for the day. And now you wake up and you look at today's trending, and it's still Afghanistan and Biden and Trump. There's almost like it's not even being talked about that it was ended overnight, which is astounding to me because I'm looking at right now, one of the top trends is still this January 6th shit. So you look at what's going on today, and it's like, wait a minute, are we talking about this? Did we fever dream this, or what's going on here? 9 of the 9 justices, to some degree, voted to end this housing moratorium, and told
only three voted no, right?
Yeah, I'm going to get the officials on that right now.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's amazing. Like, how did that go under the radar like that?
And with the COVID cases just skyrocketing, you know. So how is it not a deal? How are people not talking about this?
Well, it's like I said, I think it's because it went so under the radar. It happened so late at night. The majority of the discussion would have taken place when people are asleep. It's almost like and then you look at the other side of this too, where this is a perfect example of what we've been talking about for a while now, about how Democrats love pretending like they have power and then never flexing it, because the Democrats right now control the Congress, the Senate, and the presidency. And there are a number of different ways they could have created this moratorium where it would have been protected. And there's a number of different ways where they could have extended it or modified it in such a way that it could have been, the courts couldn't have had their hands in it. And they didn't. They'd love to do their performative theater. You know, Cori Bush sleeping on the steps of the Capitol building, and all of these, you know, squad members tweeting about how it's terrible that people get evicted from their homes, and then they just sit on their fucking hands while Nancy Pelosi and her husband collect an empire of real estate, and just, oh gosh, I can't see why I would want to help my landlords who are part of my empire that helped make me wealthy. Why would I want to help them when I could help regular people? And all the stands will get on her Twitter account and say, thank you, Nancy, for working tirelessly to help people. I just wanted to tell you that this egg sandwich I'm having for brunch tastes delicious.
Yeah, well, she's a fucking landlord.
That's what I'm saying.
He's like one of the biggest ones in the States almost, I think.
Well, take a look at this headline from the Daily Poster today. Dems scored real estate cash before letting eviction ban expire. And it's true. If you don't know about Nancy Pelosi's housing empire, you need to take a look at it, because it's not like it's private knowledge. People just don't know to look it up. She's the queen of saying something real nice into a camera and then doing the opposite privately. She did the same shit with masks. She would get on TV back in the middle of the pandemic and say, hey, we all need to wear these. We need to have these on when we go out in public. And then there's video of her in nail salons without it on, going to parties and meetings without having it on. It's wild, but it's not unsurprising at all.
No, that stuff I kind of expect out of politicians.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it any less scummy that we've just become so numb to it that we expect it to happen.
Yeah, no, I despise it.
And these shitlibs will just fucking, if you try and call them out on it, just, what are you? Are you a Trumper?
It's completely useless, bad faith discussion.
Or you hate women, useless. Right?
Yeah.
And both me and Swerve grew up with like predominantly female households.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true. I was raised by 2 women, so.
Yeah, like I had my Well, I had my mom and then I had my sister for the most part.
Right, and I was raised by my mom and grandmother, and my grandfather was there too. But he was kind of, he was kind of distracted, and I don't say that with any resentment. Like, he's a decent man. He just, he old timey grandparent, doesn't want to be a parent again, kind of thing. I don't resent him at all for it. No harm there.
They kind of think they have to work, and then they were done the work, and now it's
and he just wanted to come home and watch TV. Like, I don't complain, I really don't. But to get back on point, here's the list of the justices. So Breyer, Kagan, and Sotomayor were the three justices who said no. Everybody else on the bench said yes. So that's a 6-3 ruling to end the housing moratorium, the eviction moratorium, whatever you want to call it. 6-3 by the Supreme Court. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert in law and legality. I know not to count on the Democrats and establishment to try to create anything other than some kind of fluff visual piece that'll get people being like, oh, they fixed it for you. See, these Democrats, when in reality, like, all it really paid for was more spikes under bridges and shit.
Yeah.
I know not to trust them. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know like, a lot of podcasts will come on and be like, so what's the next step for these people who are going to be evicted? And then some guy just bullshits into the microphone for like 5 minutes. I'm not going to do that because I don't know what the next step is. I don't know how to draw up law or doctrine or go through other, like, small courts. Like, I don't know what the next step is. I'm just reporting on information today. And I mean, I can tell you guys, like, who are listening, like, hey, maybe donate to some homeless shelters or some charitable shelters, or, find some funds. Like, people will post their shit online, like, maybe find some people who need some help and give it to them. But I can tell you, like, what to do at the individual level, but I have no idea what the next step is for this situation whatsoever. I can tell you that I would do it a lot differently. If I could, like, blank check this country and just start from scratch with what kind of system I would build. Oh my God. Not saying I could do better, but I couldn't fucking do worse. Right? That's an expression that I love, because a lot of people will come at you and be like, oh, you think you could do it better? No, but I can't fucking do it any worse. I guarantee you I can't do it any worse. If the goal is to help people and not profit, I cannot do any worse.
Look, they've got those 3D printed houses. They're 3D printing neighborhoods in, like, Mexico.
Yeah.
And doing it for, you can do it for
pennies,
a couple $1,000 for a home for people.
And it's not like the greatest material in the world, but it'll suffice.
There is so much wasted land here in America where nobody's at.
Yeah.
I think they use, like, those preform, they're styrofoam bricks, and then you fill them with concrete or something.
Yeah, like, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's better than, like, you're telling me you couldn't build a couple, like, units that served maybe 5,000 people and put them up in major areas and, like, outside of cities and whatnot, just temporarily while people get back on their fucking feet. Don't charge them rent.
That's what I'm all about. And people, when I get in these threads and people are like, so what about the people that are tired of paying rent and they want to be homeless now because they're not homeless anymore? They can just live in these things for free. Yeah, I'm talking about temporary public housing, man.
But hold on. Somebody doesn't want to pay rent and they want to live in this, like, styrofoam concrete building for free. Okay.
Yeah.
I would rather somebody I would rather somebody choose that than be trying to navigate their way to lay down in between spikes under a bridge.
Yeah. I think what they need to do is set it up so you can have, like, individual spaces that you can, like, lock yourself in or, like, other people out, so that you have that safety, right?
See, the thing,
like,
about
a lot of things that are people are homeless, you're constantly on edge because you don't feel necessarily safe, right?
The thing about and this is kind of funny because this is where both liberals and conservatives expose themselves for their political theater with this sort of thing. Because from the conservative perspective, it's always supposed to be about choice, right? It's always like free market, let the free market dictate. All right. So this guy, he's playing the market. They have these brick, concrete, 3D printed, whatever material housing, and that's his choice. It's non-rent. It may not be the most upscale living available, right? But it's his choice to go live there. That's the free market playing out. Somebody came up with a solution that says, hey, you know what? I am going to live here because I don't have to pay rent. I don't care about aesthetics. I just need a roof and a bed to sleep in. My cost of living will fucking plummet. I can make it on $300 a month, and now I have money, and I can build up for the time that I want to live more elegantly. Oh shit, this guy just played your free market like a fucking con man, and now you're mad about it because you didn't think of it, or because you think that's not fair. Bro, the free market isn't fair. If you really want to stick by your conservative principles, your capitalistic principles, and talk about the free market, bro, guess what? Everybody's fucked. Like 98% of you are going to get screwed over by that market because the people who have the ability to take advantage of it one way or the other will do just that. But on the liberal side, where you expose yourself on that side is, I'll make a comparison. If we can do this 3D printing, this brick building for the housing moratorium, we sure as shit could do it for the kids at the border, the families at the border. We could go down there, print these authentic buildings, okay? Again, maybe they're not the highest living conditions possible, but I guarantee it's probably better than kids literally lying next to each other in tinfoil blankets during COVID conditions, right? We could go down there, build these cheap buildings that could last only as long as we needed them to last while we sorted out whatever. But then they would have nice, independent housing conditions where they're not crammed together in cages, where the situation is still not ideal, but it's so much improved that it stops at the very least being a major humanitarian crisis, right?
Yeah.
But the liberals...
Actually, I did talk about this before.
And the liberals...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I talked about it before... Because I don't think it was on a podcast. I think I was just chatting about it with someone. But if they built like small, like single family homes, and you could run them off solar power too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you could theoretically nowadays live off grid in a small little home.
Yeah, what you're talking about, this is a perfect example where Democrats could put their money where their mouth is. They could go down to the border, build these temporary structures, power them with solar. Hey, look at that. You'd get your own tax break as a federal government company by doing that. Whoever you contracted to build that would make such a huge tax break. They'd probably have a for-profit. They'd have a net profit from even building these things. So
do it. Sign me up. Where do I get the money?
And then this is where their performative theater comes in, because they'll just make up any fucking excuse to say that's not practical. And well, what about these people and this people? And you get to a point where you're like, you know what? I don't think you give a shit about these kids in cages. I don't think you give a shit about the border. I think the problem you had with it was that Trump was doing it. Because now that there are more kids down there now than there ever have been, Biden has allowed this thing to spiral out of control. And yes, it's true that Obama was doing it before Trump, and it is also true that it accelerated under Trump quite a bit. But now it's Biden, and it's the most true that Biden has done virtually nothing about this. Virtually nothing substantial, nothing meaningful, and they don't care. The liberals do not care. They are back at brunch. We all met in a thread about this.
Yes, and did you see that this Supreme Court ruling for the eviction crisis? It wasn't the first blow to Biden this week from him. Earlier they upheld brought back, said Biden had to abide by Trump's rule of stay in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can't grant any more people asylum.
Right. So you look at this, and yes, I understand that particular issue with the Supreme Court makes that particular situation a little complicated. But for the people that are already here, you could improve their living conditions by so much. And that's people at the border, homelessness in general, as a general crisis, eviction, homelessness. We could be doing things that are cheap, reasonable, and effective to help these people. And we do not. And when I say we, I'm talking to conservatives and I'm talking to liberals. Because this is universally proven to be true, that the major parties do not care about individuals. They don't care about you. They don't care about Yeti. They don't care about, my neighbor. They don't care about anybody that lives in my town. The only time they care about you is when you can make a donation and when you have to vote for them. And that's where their caring for you stops. The rest of the time, corporate donors, corporate lobbyists, corporate figureheads, military-industrial complex, et al. So if you're out there and you're looking at this eviction moratorium and going, well, Joe Biden will fix it. Just give him time. Joe Biden will fix it. I want to punch every motherfucker who says give Joe Biden more time. Because that is most shining example of moving the goalposts that there ever could possibly be. Because first it's he's only been in office for a week. He's only been in office for a month. He's only been in office for 100 days. He's only been in office for 6 months. He's only been in office for 8 months. And the addendum to I could say it on election day 2024. And they'll just come up and say, well, he needs a second term if he really wants to get anything done. Meanwhile, Trump in 4 years was the biggest tyrant that ever existed and was capable of doing whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, despite the fact that for 2 years he didn't have the House. It's truly amazing, the disconnect and the moving of the goalposts. If you're one of these people who's out there saying that, you're either genuinely naive as fuck, or you're willfully acting in bad faith because you don't care. And
I'm pretty sure I remember them using that with Obama.
Oh, of course they did.
And
Obama had a fucking supermajority and still couldn't get shit done, like we talked about in episode 1.
And you know, my point in throwing out that thing about the Supreme Court is that nobody's heard about it. No. Like, okay, so a few squad members took to Twitter last night, like they do so well.
They love to do, yeah.
Yeah, and said, well, this is unacceptable. We need to do something to stop the eviction moratorium again, like we did before. But nobody, not one of them, has tweeted about the ruling that we can't grant anybody else asylum. Mm-hmm. It's kind of one of those things where, like you said, the Democrats don't care about the kids in cages. They're glad that the Supreme Court took the problem out of their hands.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Now they have the scapegoat.
Exactly. And, you know, what is a worse look, man? A country that allows people across its borders and then we supply them with prefab housing, or like the images that Fox News gets to display in Odessa, Texas, where the facilities are so full you can't even stack them on top of people anymore. So now you've got them living under bridges, like in Freedom Town and Scarface. I don't know if you've seen those images or not, but we're talking a couple thousand people all gated in underneath bridges, man. Like, first of all, how bad is your fucking country that you're willing to do that once you get here?
Yeah.
But then, like, what is going on in your brain, man, whenever you do get here? And it's like, all right, they've stashed us in this fucking facility. Okay, well, now they've got to make more room for the kids in this facility. So now they put me under a fucking bridge surrounded by fencing with barbed wire and armed guards. That's how we treat people trying to come to this great country that everybody brags about.
And you know what?
It pisses me off.
You know what I find the most funny about that is what you actually said when you talk about the squad getting on Twitter and tweeting out, hey, man, we need to do something about this. I see that all the time where they say we need to do something about this, and then they never tell us what the something is. It's always just, well, we need to do something. Such as what? Well, we need to do something.
Just something, guys. Something.
And that's a perfect segue into the second half of our show, which is this. Twitter is not real life. What do we mean when we say that? Well, look, in one aspect, it's politicians getting on Twitter and tweeting out literally the most meaningless pre-written tweets that you can imagine, right? Pelosi does it. Biden, he doesn't use his own Twitter. Somebody writes that shit for him. I can't even imagine Biden understands how to use a smartphone. And I would say half of our Senate and Congress don't. If you ever see a senator, just rule of thumb, and they're over 60 and they're tweeting, it's their intern. It's not them. So don't be a fucking bootlicker on Twitter where you're like, thank you, Miss Pelosi, and her intern has to sit there like, oh, God.
Thank you, Dianne Feinstein.
Oh, yeah, Dianne Feinstein, yeah.
Great tweet.
Yeah.
She's still got a fucking rotary phone in her office.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And a sign that says no kids in the front door. But I digress. They sent out the most meaningless tweets, useless information, nothing burgers, left and right and left and right. And y'all out there eating it up like it's fucking McDonald's, like free McDonald's, like you're those college kids at the White House when Trump gave them all McDonald's. Just blah, 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 blah. But it's also on you guys a little bit too. You guys who are out there listening to this podcast. And I'm going to engage in the most risky business a podcast can do, which is attacking the audience. But y'all need to hear this bit because there's a shit ton of you out there. a shit ton of you out there who are real, authentic people, not bots, who are genuine, honest, intended leftists or progressives or socialists or communists or whoever. You will agree with a person 99%. Yes, I agree with you on this issue. Yes, I agree with you on this issue. Yes, I agree with you on this issue. Then the fourth issue comes up and you're like, whoa, what's that? You think our flag should be purple? Oh, you're fucking blocked. You're not a real socialist. You're not a real leftist. What's that? You're arguing for incremental change as opposed to immediate systemic overhaul? Blocked. You're not real. Hey, everybody, look at the dude I just blocked for systemic change instead of complete system overhaul. Let's ridicule and laugh at and mock this person and shame them out of our movement completely, which by proxy probably pushes them to another direction, but I digress. And also, there's way too many of you out there who get fucking, I want to say like post-coital almost, when you get blocked by Anna Kasparian or Vosh or Jimmy Dore or anybody that you don't agree with. You get like fucking hard when they block you. Being blocked on Twitter and wearing that around as a badge of honor is like the social indictment to me of somebody whose entire identity is their Twitter politics. And it's sad. And like everybody's done it to an extent. Like once in a while it's fun to dunk on somebody. No denying that. But if you're out there and you're blocked by Kyle Kalinske and you don't organize, move around, unionize, whatever, like donate, whatever you're capable of doing, if you don't do something, and Kyle Kalinske's out here and like, yeah, he has a bad take every so often, but he's genuinely for Medicare for all or ending endless wars, right? I'll work with Kyle before I work with you if Kyle's actually going to help me get some shit done. But because he's a big leftist celebrity, every bad take has to get amplified and magnified and blown up to where Kyle might be like, hey man, I like chicken, right? I had chicken for dinner. It was good. And somebody out there will be, why are you appropriating black culture? This movement can't be led by white Kyle Kalinske and his chicken loving, his culture equating self. This has to be different. And I'm like, bro, he had fucking chicken for dinner. What are you mad about?
Well, that's, what about the, because look, I'm blocked by Anna Kasparian. I'm blocked by David Dole. Like Walker Bragman should have blocked me probably. Mm-hmm. I'll go after people when like this Marianne Williamson shit that happened where she was agreeing with Bill Kristol.
Yeah.
About staying in Afghanistan.
Yes.
Fuck that, man.
Yeah.
She gets called out on that shit. Now listen, what she did was something so fucking rare, man. Instead of blocking all of those people that disagreed with her for having a terrible ass take, she came out with humility and said, wow, I got all caught up in the whole women and children aspect of it. And I'm sorry. We should never have been in Afghanistan. We shouldn't stay in Afghanistan. I should never agree with Bill Kristol ever. Now, on the other hand, Kyle Kalinske, okay, like he hasn't blocked me yet. But whenever he comes out, when Joe Biden comes out and says that he's withdrawing all the troops from Afghanistan, like it's his fucking decision. Like, first of all, it was Trump's decision. It was Trump's agreement. Would you have ever come out and said, hey, my hat's off to Trump on this one. He's got it right. No, I think he wouldn't have.
I think there's a chance that Kyle might have. I think there's a chance that Kyle might have.
Maybe. Okay. But before all the troops get out, Biden sends 7,000 more to help with the evacuation. So now, instead of having 2,500 troops in Afghanistan, now we've got 9,500 again. And Kyle is on his Twitter feed for his 400,000 followers or whatever it is saying, you know what? I might slowly be morphing into a Biden bro because of this. That is not good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not saying
on that motherfucker.
How is that the thing that makes you turn to Biden?
Yeah, and I'm not.
He fucked this up so bad. I like him.
Don't get me twisted. I'm not saying don't call people out when they have bad takes.
No, I'm just saying like your chicken take on Kyle Kalinske was a hypothetical, and I had a real fucking moment, because I'm disappointed in the son of a bitch. I've been following him since before I followed Jimmy Dore. Okay.
And that is disappointing. But what I'm talking about is the response to that. All right. He comes out and he has his bad take, or Marianne Williamson comes out and she has her bad take. And this is what I'm talking about. With Marianne Williamson, people went after her as they should. And she said, you know what? I'm sorry. I was wrong. And I'm going to rethink my position. Right.
Yeah, I love it. Now, wait 1 second before you go any further.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that about Marianne Williamson. And when she did it, I was one of the first ones to go onto her feed and that thread and comment and say, why can't all bad takes end like this?
Yes.
Okay. And now for Kyle, whenever he said that I'm slowly morphing into a Biden bro and we all came at him, he said he came out and he was like, everybody's big mad that Joe is actually in the war in Afghanistan. You know what? And then he put that fucking GIF on his goddamn screen, and it said it was the one with Joe Biden in a Corvette putting on the glasses saying, "I'm riding with Biden." And now, I'll tell you what, shit is called fucking trolling. I'll tell you what,
this is all an example of what I'm talking about. And I'll finish the Marianne point, and then I'll talk about Kyle. But
go ahead.
No, sorry. Here's the deal. She comes out, she says, you know, my take was bad. I apologize. I'm sorry. And everybody's like, thank you. That's all we want. But there's enough people out there who saw that take, blocked her, and now everything for the rest of time that Marianne Williamson does is, well, she's not a real leftist. She's not a real leftist. Or vice versa. Somebody could have been in there in the mentions just being an asshole, right? Like her take is, hey, we need to stay in there for the women and children. And somebody could come in there and be like, you're just a piece of shit, completely useless, disgusting, vile human being. Not really helping the conversation, right? Just being an asshole. Then Marianne Williamson's like, all right, this person's not worth talking to. I'm going to block them, right? And now that person screenshots that block and comes back and goes, well, I guess Marianne Williamson's not ready for a discussion, right?
Yep, you're right about that.
So you're being a piece of shit, and you got blocked for being a piece of shit, and now you're spinning the tale that Marianne Williamson's the piece of shit, even though she apologized. And now on the flip side, on the Kyle Kalinske side, okay? Yeah, he's being a dick, right? He's being a huge dick. Instead of having a conversation, he's dodging it, and he's being a dick. Everybody's subject to that once in a while. And the thing about it is, it's because Twitter isn't just a website. Twitter is a mindset. It's this mindset that politics is, you get out your quick opinion, and if you have a dissenter, they're just an asshole. They're being disingenuous, they're trolling, they're not really caring about the issue. So you just block them, or you ignore them, or you just keep pushing through the mud until your opinion gets out on the other side. Twitter is a mindset because it's not real, right? You make a joke on Twitter. You make a tweet, a random talking point on Twitter. You regurgitate something you saw on the news. You retweet it 100 times until you believe it. You got to lie to yourself until you believe it. But it's not how anything works in real life. If I walked up to Spittin' in real life and Spittin' was saying some stupid shit, all right, he's out here saying like, you know what, I changed my mind on universal health care. I think insurance is great. And I would sit down with him. I'd be like, man, what are you talking about? Like, here's all these things that we've discussed in the past that show insurance is bad. Spittin's not going to just put his hand in my face and be like, I'm blocking you. I'm not talking to you. I'm blocking you. And then he's not going to look at the next guy in the restaurant and point at me and goes, here's a guy who thinks that the system can be changed overnight, like a quote tweet, right? Like we're going to have to sit there and talk to each other. And at the end of the day, either we're going to sit there and go, all right, man, like, we just completely disagree on this. Like, we're going to completely disagree on this. I respect you as a person, but we're not going to make headway on this issue today. So we're just going to leave it alone, right? And then I see Spittin' down at the store next week, and I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? How's your kid? You know, like, whatever's going on in his life. That's real life. That's political discussion. But Twitter is so anonymous and naive and so disingenuous that you could just jump in there and just literally double bird everybody in sight and then block them all and be like, fuck you. I'm the smartest politician who's ever lived. And like, nobody can tell you you're wrong because you blocked them all, right? Yeah. Like, it's a mindset that is cancerous to actual genuine political conversation. And sure, we all use it. It is fun to dunk on people. Some dudes do just need to get blocked. Some people need to get trashed and they have a bad take. That's all true. And also what I'm saying is also true, right? There's a healthy decorum that needs to be had. Twitter's not the forum for it. But until some other social media that's not Facebook, where any fucking Joe can just jump in any conversation at any time and tweet about how the earth is flat, like until some meaningful discourse platform comes along, like Twitter politics is just a cesspool that you have to wade through. And it's sad because there's good, genuine people out there who are being fucking stomped out of our movement or having their opinions and thoughts stomped out because they get in the hands of some check mark on the left and he just eviscerates them for like one bad take. And now the social norm is that you have to be blocked by this person or you have to block this person or you're not part of our secret club anymore. It's just gross.
Well, I actually have like an example of like what you're saying with real life. Is this more Facebook? But I used to fight with people about masks all the time at the start of the pandemic. But I'd also see those guys out in public and we'd have genuine good conversations too.
Yeah, because the face-to-face is what makes it like you have to accept the reality that there's a person on the other side when you actually talk to somebody, and the sort of slam dunk quick lightning point, it doesn't work in real life because that person can then just keep talking. Like you don't just get to tweet and then get 100,000 likes and then walk away. So and people don't know how to do that. They just can't talk anymore.
The majority of people don't like confrontation.
No.
Right? In face-to-face.
Especially face-to-face, yes.
But when they come home from work and they're like, God damn it, I hate my fucking boss. God damn it, I hate that fucking professor. Whatever. You know, it's like they're able to vent to whoever will listen at home.
Yep.
Whether it be their parents or their loved one, whatever. But Twitter puts a screen between them. Yep. And you can put up your fake name, you can put up a fake picture or whatever, and you can be whoever you want to be. So Joe Blow at work, who gets shit on by his boss all the time and gets told that, you know, I told you could have Saturday off, but you're going to work a double instead. And he just has to swallow it. Now he can come and go to Twitter and be like, fuck these people. I hate you and I hate you and I hate you.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, that's what I think anyways about most of these people that I'm getting in arguments with, man.
I think, sad life, just, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Right. I mean, do you have any other thoughts on this spitting?
Oh, fuck, do I?
Let's hear them.
Okay, so, I hear you saying that Twitter isn't real life, okay? But you and Yeti both know that 2 days ago, I just got in a 14-hour fucking troll fight. Okay? Now, by troll fight, I mean, like, I got swarmed by these motherfuckers. In every thread that I went to, whether it be I was talking about politics or wrestling or whatever it is that I was talking about, every thread that I would go into, somebody would follow me in there and say, is this you? Why did you post this tweet? And by 14 hours, I'm not exaggerating, that it went from fucking 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock, 10 in the morning until 2 in the morning, and I'm in there having to defend myself against rape accusations because I made a joke, and albeit it was a joke in poor taste, but it was about a wretched woman that has been stalking me for quite some time now on Twitter. Okay. Like there's more of my tweets in her feed than there are of my tweets in my feed. And, I made a joke. I said, she's exactly the type of person that is attracted to me. And I would have to drink a copious amount of alcohol ever to find her attractive because she had posted a picture of herself and it was terrible. Anyways, after that, she started accusing me of rape, saying that by me saying that I'd have to drink a lot to find her attractive, that all of a sudden now I was saying that I was going to get drunk and fuck her. against her will. All right. So, I mean, and as crazy as that sounds, this is something that I'm having to deal with, like, in real time. So I just said, fuck it. I deleted the tweet. I offered an apology, not to her because she's a terrible person, but I offered an apology about the way the tweet was worded and how it was taken. Okay. That was the best I was going to do. But by that time, her minions, man, they'd gotten a hold of it. And the next thing I know, I was Ted fucking Bundy. But this, it's not my first encounter with these fucking jackwagons. A couple of months ago, I was in some thread responding to some guy. Okay. Because that's how Twitter works. Somebody makes a fucking post and then you respond to it. So this guy made a post. I responded to it in this girl's thread. And the girl whose thread it was thought that I was replying to her whenever I said, dude. She quote tweeted it and said, this fucking transphobe just misgendered me and called me dude. Once again, shit spread like wildfire because that's what those trolls do, man. They put it in their group chats and say, have at it, boys. Or should I say thems? Because I don't want to offend anybody.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I remember both of them, but still.
But we know this is what they do because people have been in these group chats and didn't like what they saw because they had a conscience. So they screenshot some of the chat before they left the group and they posted it for everybody to see. They go after people that supported Tulsi Gabbard or if they've ever advocated for Julian Assange. They even orchestrated an attack on Cornel West for supporting the movement for a People's Party. Dr. West, like the nicest person on the planet. And they do this shit because maybe we have pressured the squad on force the vote, because like having a floor vote on Medicare for all in a pandemic is a fucking bad idea, I guess. And they do it because we dared question Bernie when he said to go vote for his good friend Joe Biden. They do it because we rail against the system and try to offset the balance of the machine. The very system that has us in this COVID mess to begin with, or getting our troops killed in Afghanistan, the eventual homelessness crisis that's going to happen because of this botched fucking eviction moratorium. And, now, some of you may be listening and asking, well, why not just block these people, if they're making you so miserable? Trust me, we do block them. But they're a virus. For every one that you block, 5 more pop up out of nowhere. And there are thousands of them. I shit you not, man. Like, take this most recent one, for instance. She's been suspended at least twice that we know of for making racist comments to a black man. She got caught trying to dox a guy's kids on Facebook. Underage kids, man. I think he said they were like 2 and 4 years old or something. They have so much hate inside of them that they get into it with some rando on fucking Twitter, and then they go to his Facebook and takes the photos he's got of his kids from their page and puts them on Twitter to say that they don't look like the daddy, so the mom must be sleeping around on him. Now, that's some fucked up shit, man. And so these, these garbage human beings, they get banned from Twitter. Then they just go and create new accounts. And they come back even more bloodthirsty than before because now they don't have thousands of followers and they're not afraid of losing that account. They got this new account. It's only got a few ragtag followers, but they know all their people that they're associated with. They just tell whoever's in charge of the group, hey, I'm back. This is my account. They invite them back to their group chat. So it's like they never missed a beat. And, so somebody could ask, like, what's their objective? Well, it's certainly not coalition building. And if you don't agree about everything that they care about 100% of the time, then they refuse to work with you. And I used to scoff at the idea that Bernie supporters were toxic. You know, that I just thought that the media was trying to paint as bad a light on Bernie as they possibly could, no matter what. So they went after his supporters, which was us. But then it turns out they did exist, because they're these people. And they are the ones that Bernie was called on to disavow all those times at the debates. Now there's no, you know, they've got Joe Biden in office. They voted for him. So I don't know if like they're having buyer's remorse and they take it out on us because they're jealous because we wouldn't fucking vote for him or whatever. But now they call us the Red Brown Alliance and the dumb left. Like that's supposed to fucking make me feel bad. But like Bernie losing this last time has seriously melted their fucking brains. And I wasn't on Twitter in 2016 or whenever he lost the first time. So I don't know if it was similar to this, but I think this time legit melted their fucking brains. And they still think that the guy is fighting for him. They still think that the squad is fighting for him. They blame us for Nina Turner losing an election in Ohio. I live in fucking Illinois. Jimmy Dore lives in California. Swerve, you live in Pittsburgh. Yeti lives in Canada. How the fuck do we get blamed for a politician losing an election in Ohio? And maybe
I'm actually incredibly convincing is what happened.
Yeah, and maybe it was her fault. Yeah, anybody ever think of that? Maybe it was her fault for hiring Jeff Weaver, Bernie's old campaign manager, that told him not to be as radical, that told him that he needed to reach out to the moderates. Or maybe it's her fault for aligning herself with the AIPAC lobbyist, Bakari Sellers, the whole fucking time of her campaign, sucking up to Joyanne Reed. This is the same woman that before the election compared voting for Joe Biden to eating half a bowl of shit. Said she was going to do it because voting for Trump would be eating the whole bowl of shit. And that was the only halfway compelling argument that ever made me even consider voting for him. So what does she do when she runs for Congress? Does she double down and say that half a bowl of shit is starting to fill up faster than she can fucking eat it? No, she tries walking it back, hoping to appease to more moderate voters, probably because Jeff Weaver told her to, and she ended up losing by 6 points. But you know what? I'd have rather had her lost by 50 points and stuck to her fucking message. Because, you know, here in Illinois, we have pretty good third-party representation. I was able to vote third party for 7 different candidates this last election. And on the places that only gave you 2 choices, Democrat or Republican, I voted Democrat. I always have. In all the years I've been voting, I've never voted for one Republican ever. But now I find myself like tweeting out, like I just did it today, tweeting out that the only time I regret my vote for Howie Hawkins is when these pathetic shit libs make me wish that I'd voted for Trump. And it's fucked up as it is to hear myself say that. I truly wish I had the chance to do it over again, knowing what I know now. Because these DSA types with their red roses and their fucking sun emojis have made me utterly despise the Democrat Party. All because I chose to not vote for the lesser of 2 molesters. Fuck those people that try to guilt trip me. And really, I mean, I seriously mean it when I say, fuck those douchebags trying to cancel me for it. Their goddamn stupid fucking hate lists that they make are just bringing more of us like-minded people together, making us stronger, and their seething jealousy is only helping us spread our message to a wider audience. So fuck you, you miserable pieces of shit, and that's all I have on that matter at this particular moment. But thank you, gentlemen, for letting me spread my wings and fly on that for a bit, because you know how much it meant to me, and I appreciate you for it.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I just want to be clear. He said wider audience, not whiter audience, for those people who try to cancel the podcast after this. So
I did say
I'd give
wider.
you a standing ovation, but I'm lazy.
I did say wider. WIDER. We can spell it too. You know what I mean?
Also, just to I can see this coming now. He only would have made that vote out of spite, not because he supported the fucking idiot.
Oh, yeah. But I'm telling you, I'm at the point now where like I wish I could go back in time, and no, okay. See, I was gonna say I'd have phone bank for the son of a bitch, but
if you could vote in a vacuum where it wasn't real, just to make them angry.
Well, okay. See, for instance, like over the summer last year, I phone banked for Howie Hawk, or not Howie Hawkins. I phone banked for Ed Markey against Joe Kennedy. You know?
Yeah.
And so like every time that these motherfuckers come in my threads and they're just like, oh my God, you hate Biden so much, you voted for Trump, you're a Trumper. And it's just like, God damn it, I've been accused of it so many fucking times. Why didn't I? That's the way I'm at now. You see what I mean? So yeah, you're right, Swerve. It's not because like all of a sudden I'm a Republican, or like all of a sudden because I just ordered my red MAGA hat, you know?
Yeah.
It's because like it's to the point where Joe Biden sucks so fucking bad. And look at the last week he's had, man, with the Afghanistan, the eviction crisis, the fucking COVID, you know, just everything. And you're telling me that Trump could have fucked that up any worse?
Right. That's what I said at the top of the pod.
When I get accused of it, when I get accused of being that guy, it just makes me want to be that guy. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're right. It would have been a protest vote, and it wouldn't have meant that I am all of a sudden some Trump supporter. But yeah, go ahead, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, no, Biden could have done so much better by just staying to the original date. Him not staying with that original date is what pissed off the Taliban and the Afghanis.
Oh yeah, but you'll never hear that.
Oh yeah, well, exactly. That's the problem.
You know, they needed their match. The internal Democratic Party, the behind the scenes people, needed their Matchbox moment. So when they kick them out and replace them with Kamala Harris for the next election, that there was a reason for it. But with that being
so tone deaf. Did you see where she went to Vietnam?
Yeah, and the Havana syndrome,
and told them that America is back, baby.
Yeah. Well, that's probably because the last time a politician went to Vietnam and said that, it was after we left there. So
yeah, but Vietnam doesn't give a shit if America. You know, the last thing they want is America to be back.
They're gonna be like, oh great, we'll get the troops ready.
Yeah, exactly.
I just finished scrubbing the napalm off my house yesterday.
Yeah.
So with that being said, guys, that's the crux of our mini pod here today, because like I said, we didn't have enough information at the time to do this whole, the whole Twitter thing isn't a full episode, and the moratorium information just came out last night. So obviously we couldn't have put it in the last episode, but this is, of course, an addendum to episode 3. If you want more information on the previous info about the eviction moratorium, you can check out that full episode anywhere that is that you listen to podcast. I was about to say anywhere that is podcast, which I guess is accurate, but that's a weird way to describe it. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank everybody who's been following us lately, who's tuned in, who's been our wagon, who's been tweeting at us, and all of that kind of stuff. You can follow us on Twitter at DifficultPod. We run polls and different interactive tweets all the time. So we hope we'll see you there. We hope we'll see you on our official YouTube channel. Keep your eyes open, because these will start to be live sooner than later, as soon as I work out some logistics. But for all of us here at Difficult Pod, I'm Swerve. That was Spittin' and Yeti. We thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time, ladies and gentlemen, right here on Difficult Realities. Y'all have yourself a good night. Take care. And remember, Twitter is not real life. Everybody sleep well tonight, all right?